Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Monday, July 21st, 2025, and you're listening to Alex's News. The weather in Riverside today will reach a high of 84.6 degrees, a comfortable summer day for many, with the evening low settling at 65.5 degrees. Keep an eye on those temperatures as you plan your activities. Coming up, we'll explore why a specific and unusual spending cut implemented during the Trump administration was largely overlooked and failed to capture significant attention. We'll also investigate the intriguing question of why strategies designed to cool urban areas might, surprisingly, be contributing to a worsening of heat. All this and more coming up on Alex's News. Stay tuned. It is a busy morning, and we begin with significant political developments. The Trump administration recently celebrated major legislative victories, though not without controversy. Our political reporter Ethan has details. Ethan, what is the latest?
Grace, it has been a whirlwind. The Trump administration successfully pushed Congress to rescind approximately $9 billion in previously approved spending. According to the New York Times and USA Today, these funds targeted foreign aid and public broadcasting.
Public broadcasting like PBS and NPR? That sounds like it could hit a sour note with many.
Precisely. This included the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, NPR, PBS, and even children's programming like The Muppets and Elmo. The New York Times reported tribal media leaders, for instance, implored Senator Mike Rounds to reject the clawback.
That is a big hit to public funding. How was this done, and why is it being called a rare victory?
This happened via the congressional rescission process, outlined in the Congressional Budget and Impoundment Control Act of 1974, which requires explicit legislative consent. This act was originally established to curb presidential impoundment of funds. CBS News and the New York Times reported the House passed the Rescissions Act of 2025 by a narrow vote of 216 to 213, and the Senate followed with a 51 to 48 vote. This made it the first successful presidential rescission request in nearly 3 decades, according to DevEx and GovExec.
So Congress did indeed give its blessing. Yet, many critics are interpreting this as Congress ceding its long-held, quote, power of the purse, end quote. Is that a fair assessment?
Grace, quote, power of the purse, end quote, essentially means Congress's constitutional authority over federal spending. While this $9 billion rescission did have congressional approval, some see it as setting a precedent where the president can effectively dictate spending cuts. This contrasts sharply with 2019, when President Trump tried to fund the U.S.-Mexico border wall by unilaterally reprogramming about $8 billion via an emergency declaration, as AmericanImmigrationCouncil.org and Politico.com reported. The 2025 action worked within the statutory framework, proving they can certainly tighten the belt when Congress is on board.
It sounds like a strategic shift. Beyond these rescissions, what about what USA Today termed the, quote, big beautiful bill, end quote?
This bill passed on July 3rd, just 18 days ago, extended President Trump's first-term tax cuts, significantly increased border security spending, and notably cut funds for Medicaid, food stamps, and green energy. The New York Times detailed new tax rules for gambling, potential Medicaid cuts jeopardizing health coverage for hundreds of thousands, and specific, quote, goodies, end quote, for industries like rum and fisheries. It also impacted higher education.
A truly comprehensive package. But these policy shifts, particularly the cuts, must have drawn criticisms. What are the concerns being raised?
Yes, absolutely. The Congressional Budget Office, or CBO, reported proposed medical research cuts would curtail the development of promising medications, leading to fewer drugs for Americans, according to the New York Times. Concerns were also raised about the catastrophic impact of NPR and PBS cuts for local stations, especially in rural areas. And in a related instance, the New York Times noted a judge ordered Trump officials to restore Radio Free Europe funding, rebuking the administration for refusing to disperse funds Congress had already approved.
Clearly, these legislative wins, though significant, have not been without their detractors. Yet, it seems they have been largely overshadowed by a completely different kind of controversy.
Grace, despite achievements, the Trump administration found its successes largely, quote, swamped, end quote, by the ongoing Jeffrey Epstein case. USA Today reported this issue was, quote, bedeviling, end quote, Trump. A Reuters/Ipsos poll from July 15th and 16th, just 5 and 6 days ago, revealed 69% of Americans, including 55% of Republicans, believed the government was hiding details about Epstein's clients. Only 35% of Republicans approved of Trump's handling of the issue, his lowest approval rating at that time. This skepticism ultimately dominated public attention, as USA Today uncovered.
A truly striking contrast in public focus, Ethan. Thank you for cutting through the noise and shedding light on these complex issues for us this morning.
My pleasure, Grace.
That was our first story of the day. We thank Ethan for his in-depth reporting. Today's report drew information from the New York Times, USA Today, CBS News, guy.gov, marketplace.org, dynamisllp.com, DevX, GovExec, AmericanImmigrationCouncil.org, Wikipedia.org, Politico.com, Congress.gov, FAS.org, SCOTUSblog.com, AP News, PBS.org, and Morning Consult. We will be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We are grappling with unprecedented heat, with record temperatures and intensifying heat waves impacting lives across the globe. It's a truly hot topic, both literally and figuratively. For more on what is happening and why, we turn to our science and environment reporter, Chloe. Chloe, what can you tell us about the current situation, especially here in the United States?
Grace, it's certainly a scorcher. As we speak, a dangerous and widespread heat wave is impacting much of the central and eastern United States. We're seeing scorching temperatures lingering in the Midwest and building in the Northeast, particularly affecting major metropolitan areas like New York City and Boston. This is according to reporting from AOL News, updated just last month and originally attributed to Yahoo. This immediate crisis is unfolding against a backdrop of globally escalating temperatures. For example, 2023 was confirmed as the hottest year on record since 1880, and 2024 is also currently on track to be a record breaker. This data comes from reputable sources like NASA.gov and the World Meteorological Organization.
That's quite a trajectory, Chloe. What exactly is driving this exceptional persistence and intensity of these heat waves? Is there a primary culprit, or is it a combination of factors?
That's a great question, Grace, and the science is constantly evolving. A new study, published today, July 21st, 2025, in Nature Communications, by scientists from NOAA's Atlantic Oceanographic and Meteorological Laboratory and the University of Miami Cooperative Institute for Marine and Atmospheric Studies, establishes a direct physical connection. According to WNEG Radio, this research highlights record warm ocean temperatures in both the Atlantic and Pacific as the main culprit for the longest-lasting U.S. heat wave of 2023, which lasted over 6 weeks, double the typical duration. The study specifically points to record warm Atlantic Ocean temperatures as the dominant factor for the severe 2023 heat wave over the southwestern U.S. and Mexico. While a developing El Niño in the Pacific played a smaller, amplifying role, the combination significantly amplified regional heat waves, even doubling their number.
That's fascinating, how the oceans are playing such a direct role. You mentioned a heat dome. Can you explain what that is and what other atmospheric dynamics are at play here?
Certainly, Grace. Think of a heat dome as a high-pressure system that essentially acts like a lid, trapping hot air over a region. Within these domes, air sinks, compresses, and warms, leading to clear skies, intense solar heating, and reduced precipitation. But beyond oceanic influences, other phenomena contribute. One primary mechanism is atmospheric blocking, where a persistent, large-scale pattern disrupts the typical west-to-east flow of the jet stream, trapping hot air. The jet stream's behavior is governed by what we call Rossby waves, or planetary waves. When these waves become slow-moving or break, they can lead to persistent, high-pressure systems. A specific phenomenon, quasi-resonant amplification, or QRA, can cause these waves to become amplified and trapped, resulting in stalled weather patterns and increased extreme heat events, a pattern that has significantly increased since the mid-20th century. This is detailed in research from sources like researchgate.net and NOAA.gov. Other factors include how dry soil and sparse vegetation create feedback loops that intensify heat, and even the release of latent heat from condensing water vapor can strengthen these systems.
So it's a complex interplay of ocean and atmospheric conditions. What are the real-world impacts we are seeing from these extreme heat events, both globally and closer to home?
The consequences are devastating, Grace. The 2023 North American heat wave, as reported by WNEG Radio, affected over 100 million people and caused over 300 fatalities, making extreme heat the leading weather-related cause of death in the U.S. It also resulted in $14.5 billion in losses. Phoenix, Arizona, experienced particularly extreme conditions, with 55 consecutive days over 104 degrees Fahrenheit. More recently, KOAA News 5 in Colorado Springs and Pueblo reported on dangerous, record-breaking heat leading to heat advisories and even linking conditions to local wildfires. Globally, 2023 was Earth's hottest summer on record, according to NASA.gov, and 2024 is continuing that trend. Europe has seen early and intense heat waves this summer, leading to evacuations due to wildfires in Greece, and Asia has also suffered significantly, with a severe heat wave in Pakistan in June 2024, causing over 500 deaths, according to AlJazeera.com. Even unusual regions like Iceland and Greenland experienced record-breaking heat waves in May of this year, as Mongabay.com uncovered.
That's a sobering picture. Given these escalating risks, what are cities doing to try and keep their populations cool? Are there some innovative strategies emerging?
Many cities are truly stepping up to the plate, Grace, trying to implement cool solutions. Phoenix, for instance, has its 2025 heat response plan. It includes infrastructure initiatives like the Cool Pavement Program, which uses reflective coatings on streets to reduce surface temperatures, and the Shade Phoenix plan to increase tree canopy. They even have a Cool Callers program, where volunteers check on at-risk residents. Phoenix also has the nation's first Office of Heat Response and Mitigation, according to a report on the City of New York.US website. New York City, guided by PLA-NYC, has invested $100 million in its Cool Neighborhoods NYC program, expanding its tree canopy, and has coated over 11 million square feet of rooftops with reflective, cool roof materials. Its heat emergency plan activates cooling centers, and they are even moving towards mandatory cooling requirements for all new housing construction starting this year, as reported by nyc.gov. Boston is taking an equity-focused approach, expanding urban tree canopy in environmental justice neighborhoods, and ensuring accessibility to cooling centers and splash pads, according to StockholmResilience.org. They even have a Keeping Kids Cool program.
Those sound like promising steps, but I've heard some discussion about an adaptation paradox when it comes to cooling strategies. Can you elaborate on that, Chloe?
You've hit on a critical point, Grace. While these adaptation strategies are vital, the increasing reliance on energy-intensive air conditioning introduces a potential paradox. As CoolingPost.com explains, the synchronized surge in AC use places immense strain on electrical grids, heightening the risk of blackouts. And a blackout would disable the very cooling systems essential for survival. This paradox also exacerbates the urban heat island effect. Air conditioning units pump waste heat directly into the city environment, significantly increasing outdoor temperatures, especially at night. This, in turn, further boosts AC demand, creating a self-perpetuating cycle. According to emberenergy.org, analyses from 2024 showed cooling needs accounted for 37% of the rise in U.S. electricity demand during summer months, often requiring less efficient and more polluting peaker power plants, thus contributing to greenhouse gas emissions.
So, while AC helps us stay cool indoors, it can actually make things hotter outside and strain our energy systems. Is the waste heat from air conditioning the primary driver of the urban heat island effect?
It's a significant contributor, Grace, especially to localized nighttime temperatures, potentially raising them by 0.5 to 2 degrees Celsius, as some research from ResearchGate.net suggests. However, its overall impact is secondary to the profound effects of the built environment's alteration of the natural landscape. The primary drivers of the urban heat island effect are the vast expanses of heat-absorbing materials like concrete and asphalt, which retain more of the sun's heat than natural landscapes, and the scarcity of vegetation. For instance, the EPA.gov and ametsoc.org report that nearly 40% of the temperature difference between urban and rural areas can be attributed to dark roofs alone, with the remainder from dark-colored pavement and lack of vegetation. Conversely, using lighter-colored, reflective materials for roofs and pavements can lead to localized air temperature decreases of up to 4 degrees Celsius, while increasing vegetation can result in reductions of around 2 degrees Celsius.
That certainly puts things into perspective. So what's the overall takeaway here? How do we best navigate this era of extreme heat?
The key, Grace, is a multi-pronged approach. We must move beyond simply providing more air conditioners and invest in energy-efficient cooling technologies, improve building insulation, and significantly expand green infrastructure like parks and cool roofs to mitigate the urban heat island effect. Strengthening the resilience of our electrical grids is paramount to avert widespread blackouts, ensuring our primary defense against heat doesn't become a catalyst for disaster, as CoolingPost.com aptly puts it. Continued monitoring of ocean-atmosphere interactions is also crucial for improving long-range forecasts, which have significant implications for human health, the environment, and our economies.
Chloe, thank you for breaking down this incredibly important and, frankly, chilling topic. We appreciate your insights on this hot issue.
My pleasure, Grace.
We'll be right back after the break. Here are some other headlines. In Japan, it seems the Prime Minister is facing a diet of bad news. Shigeru Ishiba is defiantly clinging to power despite his ruling coalition losing its majority in both houses of parliament, following a tough election weekend. Despite calls for his resignation, even from within his own party, Ishiba says he will remain in office to tackle the nation's pressing economic challenges and avoid a political vacuum. At the top of his agenda is soaring inflation and a looming August 1st deadline to strike a trade deal with the United States to avoid a crippling 25% tariff on Japanese goods. The opposition, meanwhile, is reportedly considering a no-confidence motion, creating a perfect political storm for the embattled leader. There's a bizarre international mystery unfolding after the family of an 82-year-old Chilean man, a legal permanent resident of the U.S., reported he was wrongfully deported to Guatemala. The family of Luis Leon claims he was detained by ICE agents in Philadelphia while trying to replace his lost green card. After being told he had died, they discovered he was alive but hospitalized with pneumonia in Guatemala, a country with which he has no known ties. However, the Guatemalan government has issued a firm denial, stating there is no record of anyone matching Leon's description being deported to their country. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement says it is looking into the matter, which highlights the policy of deporting individuals to countries other than their nation of origin. Ecuador is saying, quote, goodbye forever to one of its most notorious criminals. In a landmark move, the country has extradited infamous drug lord José Adolfo Macías Villamar, better known as Fero, to the United States. It's the first time an Ecuadorian has been sent directly to the U.S. to face justice. Fito, the leader of the powerful Los Choneros gang, will appear in a Brooklyn federal court on charges of international cocaine distribution. His escape from a maximum security prison in January plunged Ecuador into a state of internal armed conflict. After a massive manhunt, he was found hiding in a bunker. It seems this Fido is no longer fit for Ecuador, as he's now set to trade his lavish prison parties for a U.S. courtroom. And in China, investors are betting that the nation's involution is finally heading for a resolution. A wave of optimism has hit the Chinese stock market after Beijing signaled it will crack down on the vicious price wars that have crippled industries like solar panels, steel, and electric vehicles. For years, this involution, or race to the bottom, has eroded profits and fueled global trade tensions. Now the government is stepping in, with anti-involution becoming a new catchphrase. Regulators have met with industry giants, and some solar glass producers have already agreed to slash production. The moves have ignited a rally in related stocks, as investors hope for a ceasefire in the value-destroying competition. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Sonnet 4.0, Gemini Pro 2.5, Gemini Flash 2.5, and Google Cloud Text-to-Speech. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.